Thanks, Allie. Yeah, I wanted to run you all through some of the major different categories of scholarships. I know that scholarships can mean, slightly different things depending on the context. So I just want to be pretty broad in the definition and run through some specific examples in each of these four buckets. So we're talking about federal and state government scholarships. This will be scholarships, grants such as the Pell Grant that would be awarded through FAFSA. It could also be something like in Florida, the Bright Futures program that is for Florida residents to use at in-state colleges and universities. But these are dollars that are awarded at the federal and state level. Scholarships from colleges, these can sort of have a few different flavors. One can be merit scholarships. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with college merit scholarships. These are awarded by colleges, and they can be based off of academics. They can be based off of specific talents, but they're specifically awarded by colleges for some sort of talent or achievement. Colleges will also award some need-based financial aid. This can also be sort of derived from the FAFSA. Some colleges will require other forms like the CSS profile, but that's going to be based off of your demonstrated need. And then for all of the students who are in college, there's also going to be departmental scholarships that may be awarded to students who are studying in specific academic areas. And subsets of this can be study abroad scholarships to help students even pursue summer research or summer internships. So these can also be really great opportunities just to pay for some of these additional academic experiences that may happen outside of the traditional school year. Next big bucket are scholarships from nonprofits. This can range from the Girl Scouts. This can include like Elks Club, National Merit Scholarships, even just local nonprofits in your community that offer specific scholarships to support, I think oftentimes high school seniors who are going to be going to college the following year. And then finally, a lot of private companies also offer scholarships. Again, this can range. Some large companies offer scholarships. At Scholarship 360, we've partnered with Skechers, for instance, and they're offering about $100,000 in scholarships for seniors right now. There's also small businesses in your community that might offer scholarships. So this can really range from some of those really big corporations to small companies, law firms, dental offices in your community that, again, are trying to support local high school seniors, most often who are going to college. So I definitely have seen in the chat some students, and some parents commenting just that, I think specifically on number 2 of these misconceptions about scholarships, that scholarships are so competitive, don't bother applying, and sort of expressing some of the, I think, misconceptions about scholarships. So I'll kind of run through each of these and try to debunk them a bit. So the first one, only top achievers and athletes get scholarships. Certainly that awesome if you are a high achiever academically, an athlete who might be competitive for a Division I or a Division II scholarship, awesome. But there definitely are a lot of other opportunities out there for students. Some scholarships are really just driven based off of demonstrated financial needs. So these tend to be a lot of the need-based college scholarships and a lot of the grants that governments are offering. And then there's scholarships that they're open to students who just show a passion for the actual scholarship competition or the scholarship application. So this might be a video scholarship. This might be an essay scholarship where it's more assessing your creativity, your perspective, your experiences. For a lot of local scholarships, they're really aimed at supporting students in your local community. My co-founder, who's actually my brother, he got a scholarship through my dad's labor union. My dad was a Teamster My brother is very smart. He went to Princeton, and he often liked to joke that he was probably the only student at Princeton that was on the Jimmy Hoffa scholarship. Um, I'll get to sort of strategy as far as your scholarship search, but there's definitely scholarships that, will have a sort of achievement merit component to them, but we'll be considering a lot of other factors. I think misconception number two, scholarships are just so competitive, don't bother applying. I think that this really gets at like the types of scholarships that you're applying for. Again, we'll get to the strategy a bit, but my general advice is to really try to find the scholarships that are really aligned with your background, your experiences, and your interests. Just because there's going to be less competition for those scholarships. And if there's one thing that I want you to take away from that is to sort of think, okay, where can I find scholarships where I'm going to be like a really great fit for what the scholarship committee is going to be looking for? And there's just less competition. Just because less competition, I love it. It means you have a better chance of winning and earning the scholarship. Number three, you start researching scholarships your senior year of high school. Definitely a lot of scholarships will be open senior year of high school, but I think on one end, there are opportunities that are open to freshmen, sophomores, juniors, even younger students in middle school. And then there also are scholarships that are open to college students and graduate students. And I think a lot of times college students forget that there's some great opportunities, including those departmental scholarships that I mentioned earlier, that again, I think are just going to be a little bit less competitive because they are for specific students at your specific school who are studying a specific major. And then the last question, you have to be a great essay writer to win a scholarship. I think on one hand, you should definitely invest time and thought into writing, a really strong essay. But I think it's more about your story and more about sort of putting your personality into the essay. Like 100 times out of 100, I would rather read an essay that was just interesting to me than an essay that was just like was technically like perfect essay. I still remember when I was at Kenyon, my favorite essay was from a girl who lived outside of Lexington, Kentucky. Sadly, she did not go to Kenyon, but she was admitted with a great scholarship, and she just wrote her essay about her drive home from school. And you just got a really great like insight into her sense of humor, into like what she saw in her town. And in that essay, I felt like I was sitting next to her in her car as she drove home for school. So it definitely wasn't necessarily like the most perfect essay that was ever written. But it was just an interesting story. I felt like I got a sense of who she was. So be yourself. Definitely get like a trusted second reader to read your essay, proofread it. One of my favorite tricks is to read your essay out loud. I think that's a really great way to sort of find anything that's clunky in your essay, and also ensure that it's written in your own voice. So that would be my last debunk of these misconceptions. So I sort of alluded to this in the previous slide, but my sort of process when I worked with students, I probably worked with like 150 students in the high school level at a private school in Connecticut. And my advice was to take out a piece of paper. I know, kind of old school, but write down what makes you unique. And you can break this into categories like, tell me about your background, tell me about your experiences, tell me about your interests, tell me about your goals. So all the different like adjectives that like make up who you are, including like where you live, what your parents might do for a living, what sort of organizations you're a part of. Write down all of those things, and this will sort of give you a list of just attributes and ideas to sort of steer your scholarship search. And the more specific you go, the more niche you can take that search. So right now, for example, on Scholarship 360, we have a scholarship that students can apply to on our platform, and it is specifically for students who are interested in jazz. They're jazz musicians, and they live in Fairfield County, Connecticut. So if you are a senior, this is a $5,000 scholarship. I think, be a very competitive applicant, just because jazz musicians in Fairfield County, Connecticut, who are high school seniors, that's like not a massive pool of students. So that's just an example of an amazing opportunity. Like, it's a $5,000 scholarship. Like, that is, $5,000 to put towards your tuition bill. That can make like a big difference as you're thinking about paying for college. So definitely would recommend for you to go more niche, and to find scholarships that are aligned with your background, your experiences, and your interests. So that would be my first step. And I think just something as simple as just jotting all of this down, and then, using that as a sort of roadmap for guiding your scholarship search is great. So now we'll get a little bit specific as far as like tools to use and resources, and just like how you can actually connect some of these dots to find the best scholarships for you. So ideally, you have your list of attributes, you have like a bunch of ideas. Definitely my first recommendation is to think local. I know that sounds kind of weird, as I run an online scholarship site, and I think a lot of students like automatically are going to think like, let's go to, a site like Scholarships 360 to sort of guide our scholarship search. I like going local because, again, it's going to be less competition. And these scholarships are designed to support students in your local community. So, talk to your school counselor. If your school uses like SCORE or Naviance or one of these college planning tools, they might have a sort of current list of scholarships that you might be a good fit for. If you belong to, a church, a house of worship, a synagogue, reach out to them. Local PTO, PTA, Elks Club, Lions, Rotary, local businesses, look in your local paper. This will take a little bit of hustle and being creative, but there definitely are scholarships that are available, and a lot of the scholarships are like in the process of awarding scholarships like now and in the next few months to come, just because they know that this is when seniors are graduating, and a lot of these local scholarships will be for seniors, to be transparent. But they know that they're graduating, and they know that they're going to be, having a tuition bill to pay in the months to come. So I would definitely just think local, and check out, really, it's kind of networking. I'm sure Allie could tell you that's also really just good skill to develop as you think about your job and internship search like down the road. So it's a good habit to get into. Number two, online tools. Scholarships 360. We're proud of like what we've built. I think one of the big things that makes us different is that we do hand vet and verify and review every scholarship that's in our system, just to make sure that it's legit, to make sure that these are real organizations offering real dollars for students. There's definitely other good online tools, have good things to say. About Scholarship America is another really big one. I believe that they're the biggest or one of the biggest individual providers of scholarship dollars. They work with a lot of the big foundations. So they would be another one to check out. But there's a lot of online tools. And speaking of online tools, just always have to mention, be careful. There unfortunately are, scams. There are, organizations and folks who are looking to take advantage of students. And I think, unfortunately, with some of the issues around FAFSA, they know that students are nervous, and I think some people are preying on that a bit. So my advice with scholarship scams, like, some of the basic things, like, obviously you should never have to pay to find scholarships. Scholarship 360 is completely free. There's a lot of free tools. You should never have to do that. You shouldn't have to pay for like, special access. If there's anything.
Will, sorry, somebody asked earlier, should they consider hiring a consultant to help them find scholarships?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that depends on like your that your sort of situation. I mean, I personally did my scholarship myself when I advised students who are looking for outside scholarships. I would just recommend going to the resources. It's one of those things that, yeah, you could certainly like have someone sort of help curate scholarships like for you, but that's definitely something that you can do yourself. Again, it takes a little bit, it's a little bit of work, but yourself best, and you're going to be the one that's completing the application. So I generally think it's advisable for students to take the lead in that process. That's just my 2 cents. I don't think there's secret like private scholarships that are out there that are not going to be like discoverable on scholarship, other scholarship like tools. Um, I'm always a bit I think it just depends on your situation, but everything should be out there for free. Um, but yeah, on the topic of scholarship scams, I think anything that's like a guarantee, like that's something to be skeptical of. If you don't see like previous like winners listed anywhere, or like contact details for the organization, that might be something just to like again, your spidey senses are tingling, like look into that. And then lastly, just if something like gut level looks wrong, like trust that a little bit. Like if there's like typos, or the site just like looks really, really dated, like that doesn't mean that's not a deal breaker, but it's just something you want to pay attention to. So we have some resources on Scholarship 360, just if you want to like dig more into that. But just wanted to flag that, just because great thing about the internet is there's a lot of information, but some of it is kind of choose your own adventure, which can lead you down some like paths that maybe you didn't want to go down.
So just some tips and best practices on how to narrow your research. So a lot of it goes back to this, like, who are you, what makes you niche, but using the search filters, using keywords. So even if you're just going in Google, but also throughout the various tools, maximize the keywords that you're using, to just like you would in a Google search, to find the right opportunities specifically for you. In terms of organizing the information, we would do, recommend like a Google spreadsheet or an Excel spreadsheet to keep track of every single scholarship out there, and then what's needed, the deadlines, put those deadlines on your calendar. If you have someone else in your family that can also help to remind you of those or keep you accountable to those, that's always great as a second check, but not just the deadline. So working backwards from that deadline of what's needed from it, what essays do I need? Do I need to make sure that there's time for someone else to read that essay and give me any feedback, again, so that you're not in this crunch time, but maximizing the opportunity and maximizing your chance to be successful with it because you've planned really far in advance with that. It really is just about keeping yourself organized and using the tools that are at your disposal, to ensure that you aren't missing those deadlines, you aren't late on them, and you're constantly checking for new opportunities that are posted on a weekly or monthly basis.
Will, you mentioned some other sites in addition to Scholarship
Yeah.
360 of where people could look for scholarships?
Yeah, Scholarship 360, Scholarship America, their scholarship search, they're a lot of what they do is provide like big foundations, big companies, big corporate nonprofit wings, scholarships. So Scholarship America, the College Board, Big Future, they do have a good scholarship search, that's actually powered by the National Scholarship Providers Association. So that's another good one that I would recommend. And then looking at if your school uses like Naviance or Score or Maya Learning or one of these big college and career planning platforms. The kind of caveat with that is usually that's maintained by the school, so that your mileage can kind of vary depending on how
That
well
might want to
maintained.
switch it.
Yeah, exactly. So those would be my recommendations.